I think I was always worried that Forrest was going to kill himself. It just wasn't something I could easily admit. Maybe it's because I always sensed that he was keeping something from me, that he was quiet about something. I used to tell him how scared I was when he was 15, 16, and 17, how just utterly afraid I was every day that something might happen to him when I wasn't there. And I was on lockdown with him for a while, but even then, all I had to do was go away, and something went wrong. So after he went to Georgia, he left on New Year's Day. I think he was all of 18 years old. And then years started to pass where he wasn't doing that and was positively correcting his choices. I would tell him, I was so afraid for so long that you were going to hurt yourself. And I'm just so happy. I used to think of Georgia as somehow going to I don't know what the word is, like an alternative reality where my son was still alive. Or he wasn't even alive in New York anymore because of a different outcome that might have happened. I could have imagined how he would have died in the car accident that he got into just before he left. It's a 3 a.m. car crash and he was high on heroin and he almost killed himself. So I used to just imagine that he was alive somewhere and that place was, in Georgia, and I was so grateful to Georgia, to the people, to the environment, to the circumstances, to my brother, to his wife, to the family of Forrest's girlfriend, whose two other children became very close friends of my son and whose parents were always supportive. To his housemates, I was so grateful to the jobs that he had, to the bosses that he had who liked him, to the teachers who inspired him. I used to tell him all the time, I was so afraid you were going to die. This is like when I would get, teary with him. And he would say, "Dad, this is my son now. This is where he is now. He's not in Georgia. He's not in a foreign country. And heroin is not an accident. It's a choice. It's a choice addicts make to live between the cracks rather than deal with life. Real life is hard. And I understand how nice it is to have a restorative vacation from it. But there's no real way to do that. So heroin is a choice. My son Forrest made choices. He decided to use it. He knew the risks. He saw people die. He came to the memorials, the deaths of his other friends. Even some of the people who died he didn't like. Said they were assholes. I tended to agree. Recently, it's been brought to my attention that someone had said of my son, "Don't feel sorry for him. He was a drug addict." Which sounds really harsh because it doesn't take into account, all the wonderful things. But it isn't untrue either. I don't know what to feel sorry for my son about. He had so much going for him. And even with, all the, psychological crap that we deal with, dragging around our parents' bullshit, and, it's, I don't want to say it's normal, but we discussed it like as not something that needed to frustrate him or hold him back. Once you acknowledge things that are not of your design, you can move on. And I think you're responsible at that point to take on your life, to take back your life. If you feel like it's been taken, parts of it have been taken from you, or it's burdened with people's crap that's just about their neurosis. That isn't about you. So I don't really feel like my son had an excuse to do heroin, except he must have liked it. And then there's the whole creepy lifestyle, the people you talk to, the jargon you use, the shitty people you deal with. And you somehow have a camaraderie with them based on your heroin addiction that you just don't have with anybody else. Nobody else understands that. Do you understand this? Do you heroin addicts understand this? That this is where you end up when you choose. It wasn't out of my son's control before he decided to use. I really dread going into his phone and emails to learn more, because the outcome is so final that the equivocations are going to be kind of standard. You're not killing the pain. You're creating pain.